This is the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. How you doing? I'm Ty Higgins. Appreciate you watching. A recent study found that 40% of all counties in the U.S. have less than one lawyer per 1,000 residents. Why is that a problem, and what's being done to give rural Ohioans more legal representation? We'll find out on this Ohio Farm Bureau podcast from our friends at Wright and Moore after this.
Sometimes out here, you have to speak loudly.
Our voice alone may not have as much impact as we would like, but my voice
can be heard and influential through membership in Ohio Farm Bureau.
My voice, along with tens of thousands of Ohioans,
makes a difference when it comes to legislation, regulation, or litigation that can be positive or potentially harmful to those of us in the agriculture community.
Become a member today at ohiofarmbureau.org.
Because there is strength and members.
Find out how Nationwide Agribusiness can help you grow your business. Get to know the people with the experience and knowledge to help you. Whether you are looking to protect your farm or ranch from the ground up, or need someone who understands your changing commercial ag needs. Find out how to better manage the risks of your ag business, or how quickly you can get back to business. Learn how you can protect your next with Nationwide on your side.
The problem of the shortage of rural lawyers now has a label. Areas with few or no lawyers are now called legal deserts. To put things in perspective, 14% of us live in rural America, but only 2% of attorneys practice in rural America. Why is the rural attorney shortage getting worse, and what efforts are being made to address the issue? To talk more about it, Ryan Conklin, an attorney with Wright and Moore, and Wright and Moore's summer associate Brody Voigt joins us. Great to see you both. Welcome back to the podcast, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Ty.
Yeah, thank you.
Brody, our listeners and viewers have not seen or met you yet, so kind of just tell us about yourself, maybe your farm background, and how you see yourself fitting into this space we're talking about as far as rural practitioners go.
Yeah, so I'm Brody Voigt. I grew up in Miami County, specifically Tipp City, where we showed hogs and goats. Starting out at a very young age, 2 years old, walking a hog in the show ring. That's about all I knew until we started showing goats, but really have a passion for agriculture. Started there, decided to go to Wilmington College, where I majored in ag business. From there, I kind of decided to go to law school because I felt, one, there is that shortage going on, and it's really hard to kind of work that path of ag law if you don't have the background in agriculture. Like even now, some of the things we work on with only having a background in hogs, sometimes that limits me in other things we work on. So I could only imagine someone who's, never even been exposed to agriculture at all being thrown into this environment. So kind of wanting to fill that space going into law school, and then Wright and Moore just seemed like a really good fit for this summer to help me work through that.
Yeah, you're learning from the best. And Ryan, we could joke about her having a choice of career paths in rural America with the path she's chosen. No doubt that she's going to have plenty of opportunities ahead of her. But a recent study found that 40% of all counties in the U.S. have less than one lawyer per 1,000 residents. Why is that a problem?
Yeah, I felt like, Ty, you could have opened this session here with some sort of lawyer's joke, and really trying to convince those listeners that more, or having more lawyers, is actually a good thing in rural America. But when we're talking about rural representation, it's not just those working within agriculture. It's also those attorneys who get groomed for county prosecutor positions, for judges. For those who help the family in town administer their mother's estate, or help with very light criminal defense, serve as public defenders. Those are some essential components of our system of government and system of property ownership. Things that whether you're involved in agriculture or not, I think that you can truly appreciate. So it's not just an agriculture issue. It's about making sure we've got a functioning system of government, and with attorneys being in short supply in these rural areas, it can really create some problems in those different systems.
How long has this been an issue, and why are we just now starting to talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, I can actually go back in my own academic career at the University of Florida studying this issue, and that was 10 years ago, that the New York Times actually ran a very good piece about retiring attorneys in South Dakota. and how there was such a deficit there. And since then, I can say that with empirical evidence and also qualitative experience, that the problem has not gotten better. It's just something that I believe the profession as a whole is really starting to take notice of and really promote.
What's the root cause of the shortage, in your opinion?
Oh, well, I think that can look at a lot of different factors that contribute to a rural professional shortage. And I say rural professional shortage as a quick detour here, that we're not just looking at lawyers in this through this lens. For Brody and I, it's easy to focus on lawyers because that's the profession we work in, but it's dentists, doctors, accountants, therapists, all sorts of professionals that would work in rural areas. There's really a shortage. But in terms of causes, we've got law schools that come in into very heavily urban areas and focus on servicing those legal markets, making sure that Columbus or Cincinnati or Cleveland or Toledo or Dayton have enough attorneys to work in those metro areas. Really, because of that, I think there's sometimes a deficit of focus on looking outside those metro areas. But also, looking at rural communities, we haven't exactly promoted these as career paths. It's a pretty tough sell to say, okay, Brody, you might have gone through 3 or 4 years at Wilmington. Guess what? Now you get 3 more years of fun there at the University of Dayton College of Law. For me, it was 10 years of school hopping before I wrapped up. So it's a pretty tough sell. And not to mention, Ty, it's expensive when you could buy a farm for the cost of your law school tuition. That's a pretty tough sell.
Brody, among your peers, are you seeing any interest in this? You were in classrooms with people that might be thinking of this same career path. Were those classrooms full, and were those people thinking about the path that you're thinking about taking?
Really just something that came to mind when Ryan was talking was our career services. It's really hard for me to find experiences through like rural development areas instead of like large firms. Everything that comes in is focused on larger firms in metropolitan areas. So I think I would even reach out to our services and say, hey, like I'm interested in agriculture. This is what I want to do. Do you have anything? And, luckily my own experiences prior to going to law school led me to Wright and Moore. But if not for that, I'm really not sure I would have ever found a place here. And I think, I took an oil and gas class and there were 8 people in there. So if that tells you anything, there's not too much interest, at least at the University of Dayton, but I think it's just that they don't know what's out there. And then also Dayton necessarily may not have what Ohio State does in regards with agriculture.
So the way the industry is going, the cost, it could be prohibited. You mentioned the time frame, Ryan, it takes to get that degree could be prohibited. There are some things being done, though, at the state level to hopefully get some interest into what we're talking about here. A new state law passed last year encouraging lawyers to practice in rural areas. The Rural Practice Incentive Program going to repay law school loans to qualifying attorneys in communities with a certain ratio of attorneys to county population. Ryan, do you see efforts like this working in the long run?
Yeah, this kind of effort is a great step in the right direction, and I'm certainly appreciative of Supreme Court's efforts that they've had going for several years, but also I think the legislature taking notice, and I know that the Ohio State Bar Association was on board with advancing that. I don't remember specifically Farm Bureau's involvement if there was, but there's I think some movement starting on that front to throw some money behind this problem. But I see it as something that it took generations to arrive at this point, which means it probably takes generations to work our way out of it. So I look at for Brody and I, our careers will be marked by conversation after conversation, trying to build a coalition of partners to really get legal professionals and then other professions working more in rural communities.
What else is and can be done to alleviate this attorney shortage across rural Ohio?
Well, I'd be curious to hear Brody's answer on that too, if that's okay, Ty. And I'll start though. Really, going through FFA or being associated with 4-H or being in a small town farm community, I really didn't realize that agricultural law was a route until, or a potential career path until I got to Ohio State and took Professor Hall's agricultural law course. So that was, pretty far along in my development, which in case you're wondering, Ty, I got an A in agricultural law. Just got to make sure that's out there. It's a shining spot in my.
I was just texting Peggy to make sure. So
yeah, she tried her best, but couldn't defeat me in that course. But I think that looking at vocational agriculture and what Brody and I would be working on right now, there is agricultural component of everything that we do every day, and I would hope that some of those programs could start taking notice and potentially identify students who could go that career path and get them ready for the coursework and the rigor and the school and potentially the funding they would need all the way through higher ed.
Brody, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I think, I didn't even know agricultural law was a thing. I honestly thought that I coined the term truly in Wilmington until I took an agricultural law class. I'm like, okay, this is real. Like, I have place after here to continue that path. But I think it really does, kind of what Ryan said, start with education. I went to school, I didn't even have FFA. Really important to have that in school systems. Luckily, my mom was really familiar with agriculture and continued that through us. So really grateful for her in that way and bringing me here to where I am today. But I think also at Wilmington, everyone takes ag classes and ag business and they think, okay, like I'm going to go into sales or, sell seeds, sell tractors, do something along those lines. And I think, professors should open up that idea of like, did you know that law school is available to you and that this path is there?
Ryan, I know as well as you do that bringing young people in takes a little bit more effort, takes a little bit more time, takes a little bit more resources. But the fact you've done that for Brody and others to bring them into the fold is pretty impressive. And I know it's important to you. You were part of a succession plan, and now hopefully down the road you're going to be looking for someone to take the reins many years when you decide to call it a career. Tell us more about Wright and Moore, about your organization, and how people can find out more if they want to work with you.
Of course. So Wright and Moore is a statewide agricultural law practice. We work with families, farms, business owners, landowners in all 88 counties. I think I've got 82 or 83 out of 88 represented on my map here. But we're, instead of being a geographic firm, we focus more on specific subject matter, specific issues facing those rural residents, farmers, and landowners. But our main areas of work, farm succession is the team that I lead within the office. And then Andy Wecker, who's I think prior podcast guest, he leads the landowner advocacy piece for which Brody is working under primarily this summer. So the farm succession, again, intergenerational farm transfers, which I know we've talked about on your show, Ty, and then landowner advocacy, making sure that those landowners are able to maximize the value related to their most valuable asset.
A lot of great work for your clients, many of them Farm Bureau members from across the state of Ohio. Appreciate all your work. Ryan Conklin, an attorney with Wright and Moore, and their summer associate, Brody Voigt, joining us on the Ohio Farm Bureau podcast. Brody, great to meet you. And Ryan, we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Ty.
Thank you. Great to meet you.